Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Please take your seats. Please also switch off or mute your cellular telephones, your smartphones. We would rather not hear those sounds. I would also like to ask you to switch off your smartphones, to take your seats, please. And we are just about to begin our celebration. Good morning again. My name is Patrycja Dudkiewicz. Together with my colleague Mariusz Sielski, we will host this celebration, the inauguration of the academic year 2024-25. And again, we would like to request all of you to mute your smartphones for the next 2 hours. Now, I would like to ask all of you to rise. We will welcome the academic procession. Please take your seats. I hereby open the seating of the Senate of the Warsaw School of Economics for the inauguration of the academic year 2024-2025. Ladies and gentlemen, 20 years ago, Poland became a member of the European Union. The inauguration will be devoted to this anniversary because we have been celebrating it for a year now of this most important event in the recent history of Poland. That is why I would like to welcome among us our friend, and particularly my friend, who has accompanied me in my life for 38 years, together with his wife, Jolanta Kwaśniewska, who is not here with us today. But I would like to welcome Mr. President Aleksander Kwaśniewski. I welcome Mrs. Danuta Hübner, Mr. Ambassador Jan Truszczyński, all those three persons have significance for our EU membership. I would also like to welcome Mrs. Grażyna Rocznym, Mrs. Ewa Kłobukowska, our excellent sportswomen, and I will welcome the next persons separately, and I will say more about the ladies further on in our celebration. Now I will take over from the rector on behalf of the rector of the Warsaw School of Economics, Professor Piotr Wachowiak. We would like to welcome the guests who have attended our today celebration, in particular Mrs. Magdalena Bieja, Deputy Speaker of the Sejm, Mr. Piotr Ćwik, Deputy Head of the President's Chancellery, Mrs. Agnieszka Majewska, Spokesperson for Small and Medium Enterprises, Mr. Andrzej Szejna, Secretary of State in the Foreign Ministry, Katarzyna Kacperczyk, Undersecretary of State in the Health Ministry. Excuse me, but I also need to welcome a friend of our school, Minister Piotr Ćwik, from the President's Chancellery. We will get there. I would like to suggest that we keep our applause for the end of the list, because this will facilitate our meeting. Now I'd like to welcome Mr. Andrzej Czuma, advisor to the Minister of Justice, Mr. Mariusz Frankowski, Mazowieckie Voivodeship Head, Mrs. Renata Kaznowska, Deputy Mayor of Warsaw, Mr. Damian Sejczak, Head of the Political Cabinet of the Minister of Science, Damian Kaznowski, Mayor of Mokotów, and Katarzyna Potapowicz, his deputy, Mr. Mirosław Kasprzak, representative of the Minister of Science for the cooperation of science with Education, Father Mateusz Bawarski, Rector of the Academic Church of St. Anne, Father Aleksiejek from the Orthodox Cathedral of Mother Mary Magdalene in Warsaw, also representatives of diplomatic missions, Excellence Ambassador of Tunisia, Saud Abdulzaid Al Mahmoud, Ambassador of the State of Qatar, His Excellency Mr. Gomez Urbanet, Ambassador of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, His Excellency Mahmoud Khalifa, Ambassador of Palestine, Excellence Acer Jose Peña, Ambassador of Colombia, Excellency Ambassador of the Democratic Republic of Congo, Charge d'Affaires Luis Gonzalez d'Affaires from Peru. We also have Mr. Mikołaj Gradowski from the Embassy of Ukraine, Mehmet Bahadir Ileri from the Embassy of Turkey. We have an advisor to the Serbian Embassy, Mrs. Joannika Filia from the Indonesian Embassy, Mr. Cemehmet From the Mongolian embassy, a representative of the Azerbaijani embassy, we have Susan Tank from the Taipei, representative from Mr. Tomasz Wokulski from the Federal Republic of Germany, and Mr. Amal Ali from the Embassy of Iraq. Now, for a change, I will take up and welcome the rectors, Professor Michał Zasada, rector of the Main Agricultural University, Deputy President of the Conference of Academic Rectors, Professor Barbara Marcinkowska, rector of the Maria Grzegorzewska University, Deputy Head of the Conference of Warsaw Universities, Dmytro Łukienko, rector of the National Economic University of Kiev, and Professor Barbara Jankowska, rector of the Poznań Economics University, Professor Bernard Ziembicki, rector of the Krakow University of Economics, Professor Czesław Zając, rector of the Wrocław Economic University, Professor Alojzy Nowak, rector of the Warsaw University, Professor Krzysztof Zaręba, rector of the Warsaw University of Technology, Professor Rafał Krenka, rector of the Warsaw Medical University, Professor Tomasz Stral, rector of the Frederick Chopin University of Music, Professor Wiesław Czołpiński, rector of the Academy of Dramatic Arts in Warsaw, Professor Bartosz Molik, rector of the Physical Education University. I'm also associated with that university, Professor Krzysztof Pawlina, rector of the Catholic Academy in Warsaw, Professor Roman Cieślak, rector of the SWPS University, Grzegorz Mazurek, rector of the Leon Koźmiński University, Professor Maciej Rogalski, rector of the Łazarski University, and Professor Krzysztof Filipiak, rector of the Maria Skłodowska-Curie Medical University. Applause, please. We also have Professor Robert Wolny, Deputy Rector of the Katowice University of Economics, Professor Barbara Kowalewska, Deputy Rector of the Academy of Fine Arts in Warsaw, Professor Tomasz Zwęgliński, Deputy Rector of the Fire University of Warsaw, Professor Sebastian Sikorski, Deputy Rector of the University of Kardynał Stefan Wyszyński, Professor Tadeusz Zieliński, Deputy Rector of the Christian Theological Academy in Warsaw, Professor Kazimierz Worwa, Deputy Rector of the Warsaw Military University of Technology, Professor Maria Elżbieta Orłowska, Professor of the Polish-Japanese Academy of Computer Techniques, Professor Zbigniew Nowak, Deputy Rector of the Academy of the Military Academy in Warsaw. I would like to also welcome doctors, honoris causa doctors of our university, Professor Leszek Balcerowicz, Professor Jerzy Hausner, and Mr. Krzysztof Pietraszkiewicz. We would also like to welcome former rectors of Warsaw Universities, Jerzy Woźnicki, president of the Rectors Foundation and rector of the Warsaw University of Technology, Professor Marek Krawczyk, rector of the Warsaw Medical University, Professor Stefan Kwiatkowski, rector of the Maria Grzegorzewska University, Mr. Professor Jan Świta, former rector of the Warsaw University of Technology, and former rectors of the Warsaw School of Economics, Mr. Professor Budnikowski and Professor Marek Rocki. Welcome. Furthermore, we have Professor Henryk Skarżyński, creator and director of the Institute of Physiology and Hearing in Kajetany, laureate of this year's award of SGH, Mr. Professor Marcin Pałys, Wojciech Kaczewski, PhD, Director of the National Agency for Economic Scientific Exchange, Mrs. Bożena Lublińska-Kasprzak, First Deputy of the National Center for Research and Development, Mrs. Edyta Dęby-Siwek, President of the Polish Patent Office, Mr. Waldemar Ściwiński, founder of the Perspektywy Foundation, Maciej Szczęsny, member of the board of the Bank Guarantee Fund, and Professor Michał Kleiber, president of the Polish UNESCO Committee, Professor Marek Figier, director of the Institute of Agricultural Economics, and Mrs. Urszula Jóźwiak, president of the Ignacy Krasiński Foundation, Maria Krasińska-Kaczmarek, President of the Responsible Business Forum, and our graduate, and Mr. Andrzej Sadowski, President of the Adam Smith Center, Mr. Jacek Gdański, President of the Polish Audit Foundation Agency, and a representative of Play Sustain Agency, Professor Lubacz, Director of the Contemporary Civilization Problems Institute, and Mr. Krzysztof Przybył, CEO of the Polish Promotional Mark Foundation, President of the Polish Economist Society, Professor Elżbieta Mączyńska-Siemacka, President of the Polish Economic Society, and our Professor Martin Crispin, PhD, Director of the German Academic Exchange Agency, Mr. Jasiński, and Director Grzegorz Jędrys from the Polish American Freedom Foundation, Mr. Marcin Wajda from the Marshal's Office of the Mazowieckie Office, Mr. Colonel Gorczyca from the Polish military, representative of the Employers of Poland, Magdalena Kazińska, representative of the Education System Foundation, Mr. Stefan Krebs and Mrs. Kleiber, who received the Medal of Merit for the Warsaw School of Economics. Welcome, everyone.
I have the pleasure to welcome the Director of Non-Public Secondary School 81 of our university, Dr. Barbara Czcinska, and Mr. Mariusz Łukaszewicz, the Director of the Primary School. Janina Jóźwiak was our Rector, and she's a patron of the school. And also Ms. Małgorzata Pliścińska, Director of the Economic Technical Secondary School number 8 in Warsaw. We also extend a warm welcome to the members of the Council of our university, the Chair, Mr. Jacek Bartkiewicz, PhD, and members, Ms. Ewa Malinowska-Krupińska, Izabela Olszewska from the Warsaw Stock Exchange, and Ms. Anna Potocka-Domin, the Deputy President of Business Center Club. A warm welcome to the representatives of the companies that are members of the SGH partner clubs, who are always with us. We also extend a warm welcome to the President of the University of Third Age, Krystyna Lewkowicz, Mr. Leszek Kajkowski, President of the Foreign Trade of SGH, and all of the graduates of our university. On the occasion of today's inauguration, we have received a number of letters of congratulations from the Speaker of the Sejm, Mr. Szymon Hołownia, Minister Barbara Nowacka, Minister Paulina Henning-Kloska, Minister Dariusz Klimczak, and the Chair of KRASPA, Professor Bogumiła Kaniewska. Very warm thank you for all the kind words and greetings for our university. All of the letters of congratulation have been placed on a dedicated website. Thank you very much for coming, and a warm welcome to everyone, including those of you who are watching us online today. Please stay with us, and the floor goes to Mr. Rector. Hello and welcome, everyone. You are all very important, but I am looking at the fair faces of rectors, and I have promised that the inauguration is not going to be very long, but it will be long, and everybody knows that very well. Let me just make sure. Ms. Minister Kasia Kasperczyk, has she been mentioned? She's ours, our own. She's our own minister. So, and a very warm welcome to her. And a particularly warm welcome person who is very, very important in our group. This person is Ms. Sława Przybylska, who made an appearance to our ceremony. I don't think I need to introduce her creations and her artistic work. Do you remember? It was autumn. You probably know the song very well. we all know the song, and a big round of applause for Ms. Sława Przybylska. Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are not aware of this, Sława Przybylska is a graduate of our university. I'm deeply moved, and let me extend a big thank you to you, Slava, for accepting our invitation. So we would like to invite you here, and let me prepare myself for producing the flowers. Thank you very much for the invitation to today's ceremony. I'm a graduate. I have a degree in foreign trade. Back then, the university was called the Main School of Foreign Service, and the foreign trade faculty was my home faculty, and I had a graduate diploma, and then I reported to the Polish radio and I won the competition, and I never had anything to do with foreign trade apart from very nice memories of that time. So thank you very much for the invitation. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just say that Ms. Sława Przybylska keeps on concerting. Recently, Professor Agnieszka Chłondomińska attended a wonderful concert, and we are also going to organize a concert of Sława Przybylska, and you are invited already. Ladies and gentlemen, the next point is the speech by the rector of the Warsaw School of Economics in Warsaw. Ladies and gentlemen, we always are cheerful and happy, even though this point of our agenda is not very cheerful. But before I move on to this inauguration's address, I would like to say farewell to those who left our academic community this year. Professor Zygmunt Bosiakowski, the former rector of our university in 1993, 83, and 90. He was heading our university in a difficult political situation, economic and social situation. He carried us through that period in an outstanding manner. He protected and saved our university against undesirable events. The benefit of the other human beings has always been the most important thing. And his motto was, if you don't know how to behave, behave decently. Rector Bosiakowski came to our university in 1950, and he formally was employed up until the year 2000, but he stayed active until the end of his days. Let me bid farewell to Professor Jan Antoszkiewicz, Dr. Beata Błaszczyk, Mr. Marcin Duda, Professor Jan Goliński, Professor Janusz Gołębiowski, Professor Andrzej Kierczyński, Dr. Irena Kowalska, Ms. Ewa Łukasiewicz, Ms. Anna Niewiadomska, Professor Piotr Puszajski, Mr. Andrzej Tocki, and Dr. Witold Wodarczyk. Let us observe a minute of silence in their memory. Thank you very much. Please take your seats. And now we will hear the address by the rector of our university. Your Excellency, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, dear SGH family, the inauguration of the academic year is one of those events that always make our hearts beat faster. Whether you are a graduate, an undergraduate, or doctoral student just starting your study program, or whether you are starting a career as a young academic teacher, but also when you are the rector of such an extraordinary university as the Warsaw School of Economics in Warsaw. This year's inauguration is special. Thanks to our SGH community, I am starting my second term in this office. And a big thank you I would like to express to everyone who has put their trust in me. And I pledge that, as before, I will lead our university in a very responsible manner, making sure that it develops, cooperating with our entire community. Only together can we be successful. Furthermore, like I said, our inauguration takes place in a year when Poland is celebrating the 20th anniversary of its EU membership. I am delighted to see the guests who have honored us with their presence today, and this group includes the people who brought our country into the EU in 2004. The names of President Aleksander Kwaśniewski, Professor Danuta Hübner, the first Polish commissioner in the European Commission, and Ambassador Jan Trzciński, who headed the accession team. These names have forever been written in the textbooks of Polish history. It is a great honor for the Warsaw School of Economics to know that all the names and the figures that I have mentioned were and remain closely connected with our university. And a big thank you for that, Mr. President, Professor Hübner, and Mr. Ambassador. 20 years ago, at the invitation of the President of the Republic of Poland, Mr. Aleksander Kwaśniewski, I attended a ceremony with my wife, and the ceremony was happening at the Presidential Palace. And my father was also present there. I was accompanied by the then President of the SGH Student Council, Mr. Michał Śmierciak, who hoisted the EU flag on the flagpole in front of the Presidential Palace. And a big thank you to you, Mr. President, for giving us this opportunity. I'm glad to know that Mr. Michał Śmierciak is among us today in this hall. This hall has witnessed many events this year connected with Poland's EU membership. The conclusions from the seminars, conferences, and debates are unequivocal. 2 decades of Poland's membership of the EU have produced one of the greatest successes of a country in history. Today, Poland is an integral and, fortunately, less problematic than until recently part of the EU. It is an important partner for the other members of the EU, and our participation in the global economy and trade has thus acquired additional importance. Access to structural funds has ensured our country's dynamic development in many areas, and Poland is now the 6th economy of the European Union. And we need to remember that the European community is currently facing serious challenges that need to be addressed. The report by Mario Draghi, the former head of the ECB and the former Prime Minister of Italy, which includes the claim that the European Union is threatened by a slowdown in sustainable economic growth, and this may lead to a threat to the welfare of EU citizens. This report should force all member states to reflect and also to take action to improve the competitive position of the European economy. And Poland should play a key role in this process.
I'm also pleased that my second term of office begins in a year whose patron is Professor Andrzej Grodek, Rector of the Warsaw School of Economics, an outstanding expert in economic history, who saved the Warsaw School of Economics library collection from destruction during the Second World War. While honoring the heroic efforts of Professor Andrzej Grodek, who stood guard over the Warsaw School of Economics campus in its hour of need, we'd also like to remember that he was, together with Professor Konstanty Krzeczkowski, the creator of Europe's most modern specialist economic library and a reformer of the university, who cared for its highest academic standard. This morning, to follow the tradition, I laid a bunch of flowers on the rector's grave to express the gratitude of our alma mater for his efforts. Continuing the mission of Professor Andrzej Grodek and his colleagues, using the modern infrastructure that the Warsaw School of Economics is receiving with the Center for Innovative Space at Batorego Street, I would like to, by the way, thank Mr. Chancellor Marcin Dąbrowski, PhD, and the whole team that the building has been commissioned, and I invite you, ladies and gentlemen, for the opening ceremony, particularly Madam President Renata Kaznowska, who was present at the opening ceremony of the construction. I would like to focus in this tenure I'm beginning on strengthening the scientific position, continuing the international position, supporting the development of the academic community, improving the working environment, building modern, mutually beneficial and mutually inspiring relations with business and public administration, expanding the areas of social responsibility and the ESG. Very significant challenges lie ahead. I am convinced that thanks to the entire Warsaw School of Economics community, we will successfully face these challenges. At the Warsaw School of Economics, we shape leaders, not just merely educate them. This motto reflects the goals that the school sets for itself. It also comprises the secret of our school's success in the field of education, which is reflected in rankings, international accreditations, and the huge number of young people who want to commence studying at the Warsaw School of Economics, whom I welcome particularly warmly today. We are proud of the fact that most of the winners of the entrepreneurship contest for secondary schools choose our university. Our alma mater remains faithful to 5 values without which we cannot imagine education. And also we cannot imagine our graduates finding their way on the labor market without them. These values are truth, honesty, respect, professionalism, and cooperation. In the Perspektywy magazine ranking of graduates on the labor market, the Warsaw School of Economics is ranked first among all universities in Poland. This proves that we are very good at educating and shaping leaders. The values of our school can be easily found in the career of the world-class specialist in otolaryngology, founder of the World Hearing Center in Kajetane, near Warsaw, and winner of the Warsaw School of Economics Economic Award in 2024. Professor Henryk Skarżyński, MD, PhD in medical sciences, whom again I welcome among us. Professor Skarżyński is the forerunner of the partial deafness treatment program. He has implemented almost all implementable hearing improving systems in Poland and is a pioneer of these solutions in Europe and worldwide. He is also a great friend of our school, and I am delighted that he has honored us with his presence. There was a day when this world-renowned professor was just beginning his journey. The day of his inauguration, when he began his study program. I would like to address the students and doctoral students who are just beginning their studies at our school, encouraging them to remember, based on the example of Professor Henryk Skarżyński, how much joy and success education can bring if we approach it with the utmost seriousness and if it becomes a source of joy for us. I hope that your studies at the Warsaw School of Economics are a very good time for you, not only allowing you to acquire knowledge, hone your skills, and gain experience, but also develop your passions, like Professor Skarżyński. Be active in students' organizations, in scientific study clubs and cultural organizations. Take care of your physical fitness as well. Emulate our great graduates, Mrs. Ewa Kłobukowska, Mrs. Grażyna Rapsztyn, and Mrs. Teresa Sukniewicz-Kleiber. Build long-lasting interpersonal relationships based on trust and cooperation. Make the most, but wisely, make the most of your students and PhD studying life. May you be accompanied on this path by the excellent songs of Mrs. Sława Przybylska. I wish all of you a good and successful academic year. May it bring us much satisfaction and enjoyable moments. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rector. The second part, particularly the last part, was a good example of shaping leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I would like to kindly ask the advisor to the President of the Republic of Poland, Deputy Head of the Chancellery of the President of Poland, Mr. Adam Ćwika, to read the letter of the President, Mr. Andrzej Duda, addressed to the participants of today's ceremony. His Magnificency Professor Piotr Wachowiak, Rector of the Warsaw School of Economics, participants of the inauguration of the academic year 2024-25, Excellency Rector, Senate, ladies and gentlemen, professors, dear guests and students. I greet the economic community, all guests of this celebration today at the Warsaw School of Economics. Congratulations, and my words of acceptance to the President Aleksander Kwaśniewski, who will receive a medal of the Warsaw School of Economics today. I wish Professor Wachowiak, the Rector, all best in the new year. May your school contribute to the development of science and the development of economy based on modern solutions. Educating leaders which are ready for the challenges of the future are one of the priorities of the Warsaw School of Economics, as expressed by the school's infrastructure, including the newly developed Center for Innovative Space. I would like to congratulate all those who contributed to this investment project. I wish you that all this and other facilities of the Warsaw School of Economics facilitate good atmosphere and hard work, resulting in educational and scientific research success. Ladies and gentlemen, the inauguration of the academic year is a celebration whose tradition has been shaped by ages of tradition. The clothes, the outfits of the professors, Gaudeamus Igitur song, honoris causa, doctoral titles, and immatriculation of a new generation of students, addresses are all symbols of the dignity of scientists and the respect that we all have for science in our culture. These are also symbols of the return to work at the university of the whole community, of this time when new challenges are faced, when new goals are set. At the beginning of this new stage, we stop to think about the need, the necessity, and the difficult broadening of knowledge, to research what has not yet been researched. Every university, every technical university, academy, and higher educational schools face today challenges resulting from technological progress, market expectations, social changes, which cannot be left unattended. Depending, however, on the conditions of your scientific activity, the sense of your mission is the same, the well-being of the human being. The results of your research should be accompanied both by the efforts of your students and the accepted authorities, because every enterprise you take within studying and research has practical, social, ethical, and moral consequences. Polish science is strong, among others thanks to the potential of our national economy. And at the same time, the economy needs Polish research and educated employees whose competencies strengthen its competitiveness in foreign markets. The development of science thus requires many companies interested in implementing Polish technological solutions, as well as financing research in industrial development. The creating of Polish companies capable of competing in terms of capital and technology in world markets opens chances also for Polish research institutions. This goal is fostered by strategic investments which have been started recently, such as the development of the Central Communications Port, the Świnoujście container port, the waterway between the Zalew Wiślany and the Gdańsk Bay. I'm sure that such ambitious economic challenges with such significance for the future of the Republic of Poland will allow Polish science to break the barriers and obstacles which so far impeded its development. It's a beautiful and joyful moment when, as every year, hundreds of thousands of young Polish people start their studies at universities. I observe the development with satisfaction of the existing universities, as well as the founding of new universities on the academia map of Poland. I'm proud of the success of Polish students and young scientists who get awards and have their research results celebrated. And I also congratulate to laureates of different international competitions. I also congratulate to young entrepreneurs and inventors who responded to my invitation for the startup at the Presidential Palace project. Every such event strengthens my belief that the future of Polish economy, and thus also your future, is in good hands. At the beginning of the new academic year, I'd like to wish you all satisfaction from gaining new skills and discovering the secrets of knowledge. I wish that this special synergy which raises from the meeting of talented youth together with eager, creative lecturer teachers opens new horizons for you of endless possibilities. Vivat Academia, vivat professores. With respect, Andrzej Duda, President of the Republic of Poland.
Thank you very much, Minister. Please stay with us on stage. And Mr. Rector, please join us here as well. Now we are going to witness the ceremony of state awards to be awarded. Mr. Piotr Oleńczak will moderate this part of the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, I have the honor to inform you that the President of the Republic of Poland has awarded state awards to lecturers and employees of the Warsaw School of Economics. On behalf of the President of the Republic of Poland, the decorations will be awarded by Minister Piotr Ćwik. And Minister Ćwik will be accompanied by Professor Piotr Wachowiak, His Magnificence, Rector of the Warsaw School of Economics. Do stand up, please. Ladies and gentlemen, under Article 138 of the Constitution of the Republic of Poland and the Act on Orders and Awards, by the resolution of the President of the Republic of Poland, Mr. Andrzej Duda, the following awards have been given to the following individuals for their merits in the development of science. Mr. Bogdan Mróz, the Golden Order of Merit, Cross of Merit. Brown Cross of Merit, Mr. Mateusz Juchniewicz. Ms. Maria Pietrzak. And Mr. Paweł Smaga. In award for meticulous performance of service, a gold medal for long-time service is awarded to Mr. Paweł Brzeski. To Ms. Agnieszka Gregorczuk. To Ms. Anna Jacygal. To Ms. Dorota Kempka. To Ms. Małgorzata Krysik. To Ms. Dorota Miller. To Ms. Halina Olczyk. To Mr. Grzegorz Skonieczny. Ms. Róża Sokołowska. To Mr. Piotr Śniadowski. Mr. Jarosław Wielgut. Ms. Jolanta Wójcik. And Ms. Anna Zaszycka. Silver medals for long-term service are awarded hereby to Ms. Krzysztofa Bernacka, Ms. Edyta Brodowicz, Ms. Katarzyna Faber, Ms. Katarzyna Łebkowska, Mr. Radosław Piwowarczyk, Ms. Katarzyna Skibińska, Ms. Violetta Wicherska, and bronze medals for long-time service are hereby awarded to Ms. Aleksandra Ciepielska, Ms. Beata Mierzejewska, Ms. Karolina Nivet, Mr. Robert Pawlak, Ms. Karolina Skolimowska-Piechowiak, Ms. Izabela Wyszkowska, Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the closing of the ceremony. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister. Thank you, Your Magnificence. Thank you very much, everyone. We also thank everyone, and our congratulations go to the awardees. So let us move on to the next part of our ceremony. In his speech, our rector mentioned Professor Andrzej Grodek, who survived with a small group of collaborators up until mid-November 1944 here in the campus. The building of the library did not share the fate of the ruined buildings of Warsaw. This year is a particular year. because it is marked with memory. Our fond memory goes to the events of August and September 1944, and we commemorate the participants of the Warsaw Uprising. On the 80th anniversary of this heroic uprising, the local government of the district of Mokotów has minted a special medal. Let me invite the mayor of the Mokotów district, Mr. Rafał Miastowski, to hand over the medal to our university. Thank you very much. And now we will move on to the next part of our ceremony. And this time, I'm very pleased to invite President Aleksander Kwaśniewski on stage. Please join us at the lectern, Mr. President. Your Magnificence, Mr. Rector, dear Piotr, because I have known this young man ever since I was a child, and me and my wife, we have been friends with his father. Your Magnificences, ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests, thank you very much for this invitation. I cannot remember how many times I have been to this hall, but I only have very nice memories of being here. The Warsaw School of Economics, for my generation, this has been known as the Warsaw School of Planning and Statistics, but it has been always an object of certain envy because it was a special university. It has been an open-minded university, educating very interesting people, and today marks a great opportunity to mention a few names. These people are very important to me. I met them as a student and then in my professional and political life, and we together have achieved the important things, with the most important thing being Poland joining the EU, and I will mention that in a moment. But among my friends and colleagues, let me mention Ireneusz Nawrocki, Jerzy Koźmiński, the late Andrzej Hraciuk, and somebody who is slightly older, but he has been a guru for us for many years, Józef Oleksy, a graduate of this very university, and he was also an academic teacher and a scholar here. He was the Speaker of the Parliament and the Prime Minister. This list could go on and on. It's a very long list indeed, and I'm just focusing on the people that I have the honor and joy of collaborating with very closely ever since I was a student. I also met Józef Oleksy in Ordynacka Street. He was the head of the Council of Young Academics at the time, and then it lasted forever. This year, we celebrate 20 years of Poland's accession to the EU, and I am very glad to be able to utter these words in front of members of the generation, the new generation. I have in mind the students, and you treat this event as a historical event, and very soon it will be a very old history. But there is no doubt that any historian describing the history of Poland will include the year of 2004 and Poland's accession in the list of the most important events of Poland, events that determined a good, happy fate for Poland for the 20 years and for the years to come. When we were witnessing the great breakthrough of the 1980s and 1990s, we set a few goals. First, Poland needs to be a sovereign, independent, and democratic country, and we did our utmost to make sure that the democracy, as we see today, is not a very easy process, and it's not a value that is very simple to achieve. And democracy should be present, and it was present as a system that organizes us.
We would like Poland to have a healthy economy, a free market, and here the achievements of people associated with the Warsaw School of Economics are absolutely fundamental. The honoris causa doctors included Mr. Professor Leszek Balcerowicz, to whom I bow my hat, because he is associated with the free market transformation to the greatest extent of this breakthrough period. We wanted to assure, security for Poland, and thus we strived to enter the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which happened in 1999, and from today's perspective has to be looked at as an pivotal information event for our age. Without this political and security alliance, without those guarantees of Article 5, which assumes this solidarity, one for all for one, where would we be today? But Poland also deserved civilizational development, and here the issue of the European Union, accessing the European Union, was absolutely fundamental, and Poland took up these efforts very quickly after starting the transformations already at the beginning of the 1990s. The fact that we succeeded, and to some extent this is a lesson learned for those who don't remember it. I'm speaking of the young people. We achieved this because we managed to unify a significant part of the Polish society around this strategic goal. We managed to convince people from the left to the right and from the right to the left that this is the direction we need to head in. And we believed that the EU made a deep sense, because we weren't jumping into the unknown abyss. It wasn't an experiment. Since the end of the World War II, the great political leaders were sure that Europe being broken up, being damaged, mutually damaged, both in the First and the Second World War, that Europe deserved a project that will unify it, that will erase the conflicts, that will provide a level, plain cooperation area, resulting in the European Economic Community, European Community of Coal and Steel, and today's European Union. So this project was already verified. It was based on values that we wanted, that we were important for us: democracy, protection of minority rights, protection of human rights, free market, and fair competition. We entered the European Union, which required a great effort with changing governments. But this strategic goal wasn't lost with two presidents, because the process started during the tenure of Lech Wałęsa. I had this great joy of finalizing this process in the year 2004. In the room, there are also people who will speak in a minute after me, who have made a great contribution in this very difficult negotiation process, going through all these difficult challenges. I mean, Professor Danuta Hübner, I mean, Jan Truszczyński. It's also interesting that this group of negotiators also very diverse, that at different stages they came from different sides of the scene. Mr. Jan Kołakowski, who came from Brussels to Poland to take action. But let me also mention Jacek Saryusz-Wolski. No applause expected here, but this is also true that about our way to the European Union, that through unifying these efforts, we managed to overcome these differences among us. The goal was achieved in 2004. And here I would like to say to the rector and the whole Warsaw School of Economics community that there was a great role, perhaps not a primary one, but also an important one, not as well visible. This role was played by people who graduated this university, who were prepared in terms of knowledge of languages, and they knew the world, because the Warsaw School of Economics was open to the world. Also during the communist times, it allowed people to get to know what is going on in the world. I looked around the room. Of course, you always make some mistakes and forget someone, but I have to mention people whom I met as a student who came from here. We have Professor Bogusław Liberacki here. Bogusław, I apologize. He was always somewhere in the shadow of Józef Alexis, so perhaps that's why I failed to mention him initially in the first sentences of my speech. I would like to thank Warsaw School of Economics, the community, graduates, the scientists at the school who helped us so much on this difficult path. This path was difficult, briefly speaking, because it wasn't obvious. It wasn't obvious here in Poland because we had opponents. It wasn't obvious also on the side of the European Union. Poland had one attribute which was good, was strong, but it was an obstacle at the same time, because we were a large country. Speaking of enlarging the EU without Poland made no sense, but speaking of it with Poland meant trouble, meant that we had to overcome these difficulties, and this we managed to do. We proved to be very patient here, sometimes exceptionally patient. One word that everyone who was young, we don't like the word homework when we are young. And I had so many meetings with different politicians in the EU. They always said, you have to do your homework. When I heard this for the 5th or 10th time, actually, I was really fed up with it. But from the perspective of today, I might say that, yes, you have to do the homework. There are guests from Ukraine here. I'll tell them the same. You have to do the homework. You have to prepare your country for the accession, which is very difficult, but it is needed and it is possible. And the Polish example certifies that, confirms that today we have managed to do it. We are a part of the European Union, and after a crisis time, I think we are back in the central lane and to decide about the future of the EU. And now addressing primarily the students, nothing is over. Times are changing, circumstances vary. Today, probably they are more difficult than back when we were striving for Poland entering the European Union. There is a war. The war doesn't give hope of ending soon. I'm speaking of the Russian aggression on Ukraine. We have many fires burning in the world. We have the fight for a new geopolitical architecture in which China wants to become number one, the US want to stay number one, and the European Union is trying to define its place. All that is taking place. We have climate change, we have events, we have economic competition, which also gains new dimensions due to new technological achievements such as artificial intelligence and so on. So briefly speaking, a lot is going on, and this should be no reason to break down, but knowing that these challenges are difficult and require a lot of knowledge, good preparation, and something that is probably most difficult and something that we didn't feel as much as your generation does. A very short reaction time, a very short decision-taking time. Changes are extremely quick, and thus you have to react quickly, and this means higher risk levels. You have to be able to take up risks, you have to be able to calculate risks, you have to be well prepared for that. And this is the task for the school, to shape and educate leaders so that this risk in those volatile environments may be taken in an educated way to analyze with an analysis of the situation. My request for you is that you strive for the European Union, that you fight for this great civilizational project, which, in my opinion, apart from the creation of the United States far away on the other side of the ocean, is the greatest political project which succeeded, which brought so many years of peace and prosperity for Europe, and overcoming those divisions which were brought about, the wars, this reunion, this unification, allowing a French person with a German person to speak normally, for us to speak to Ukrainians as well. The European Union is a huge value. Don't look at it only through the point of view of bureaucracy, the cash machines, or how much money can be transferred from there. Look at it through the perspective of a great community in which Poland not only has some position, but may have a strong influential position, which will give you a feeling that you are great graduates of the Warsaw School of Economics, great Polish people and proud Europeans, or proud Polish people and great European people. You can place your accents wherever you want. Just take care, and I'm sure that your generation will contribute, will make a contribution, as more and more English words are used, to this great deed which the European Union is. Because only together the European Union can be successful in responding to those challenges, problems of the world, wars, climate change, competitiveness, and so on and so forth. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this spirit of satisfaction that we have succeeded in becoming members of the European Union, with respects for all of those who made it a success over those 20 years, without looking at anything, first of all, without looking at political views, but hoping that the new generation will not spoil it. I'm not sure how we can substitute the word spoil it. My generation knew it. I cannot quote this word because of this commemorative official character of the meeting. Let's not spoil it, but let's be wise, dynamic in the European Union, because Poland is licensed to do just that. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Mr. President. One good piece of information, Mr. President. There is no homework, either in primary or secondary school. There is homework at the university. Thank you again, Mr. President, for this sentimental journey. Together with my friend, we did do our homework, as opposed to what the rector said. We had to learn up by heart this screenplay and list of names. Now on to the next part, Mr. Damian Sejczak, head of the political office of the Minister of Science, who will read a letter from the Minister. Magnificency, rectors, Mr. President, honorable guests, employees of the university, students, doctoral students, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Minister of Science, Tadeusz Wieczorek, I would like to wish you all best and pay respect due to the commencing academic year 2024-2025. Today is a celebration of the whole academic community. I'm glad that every year new students join it, who, thanks to entering the university education, start new paths of educational and professional development. I'm sure that for all of you, the coming months will be a time of deepening your knowledge and skills, realizing your scientific passions, and participating in ambitious research projects. The Warsaw School of Economics is a special university which not only educates students, but also creates their attitudes, characters, and plays a key role in shaping their professional paths. I hope that the new academic year will foster activities that educate students at the highest level and allow for using the research potential of the university. Your Magnificency, Mr. President, I wish you all best in the coming academic year in research, educational, and organizational challenges. A lot of inspirations, significant success, and satisfaction from your work to the benefit of Polish science and higher education. Thank you very much. Thank you for these inspiring, warm words. And now I would like to ask Mr. Mariusz Frankowski to take the floor, the voivod of the Mazowieckie Voivodeship.
Your Magnificence, the authorities of the Warsaw School of Economics, Your Excellency, Mr. President, honorable guests. As a person who started his career with dealing with European funds, I feel honored to be in this honorable group of people. Professor Hübner, Your Excellency, Ambassador, I am able to speak to you in front of such a renowned audience. For the last 4 years, since 2019, up until my appointment as the voivod, I was the member of the Committee of Regions, so I managed to learn more about the EU from the perspective of local government. I am lucky not to have prepared anything about European integration because there are so many experts here. I am a graduate of this university, but this is not my original university, but I did a postgraduate program here in innovation and investment. So I thank you for this opportunity. What is the role of the voivode in the economic system and in business? You might think that this is a pure administrative role, but we're talking about the region which has the size of Denmark. So, an average size of a European country. It's a region which has the highest potential in R&D and innovation, one of the most dynamically growing regions in the EU, but also a highly diverse region. Orlen petrol plant in Płock, Warsaw as a financial and business hub, and then Ostrołęka, more of an agricultural and food industry hub. Where's the role of voivode in all that as a member of local administration? You mentioned President's words in CPK, the transfer hub. So the voivode is competent to issue decisions related to the location of the hub and all of the construction permits. That will be between 70 or 80 decisions. All of the energy infrastructure also relies on the voivode's decisions. Also, the ICT infrastructure relies on such decisions, and so does the road and railway infrastructure. While these might be administrative decisions, they are nevertheless very important. What else? Let me say two things. Foreign nationals, we talk about temporary and permanent residents for students who arrive at your university, but also for doctoral students. And again, we're talking about the region which is largest in our country. 25% of all of the applications filed in Poland are related to this voivodeship, the Mazowieckie voivodeship. It's the same story with new citizenships. Let me talk about central institutions, the environmental inspection, the sanitary inspectorate, and also many others. And the last but not least element, which is particularly important, let me highlight it in view of the recent developments in the south of Poland, which is crisis management and emergency management. The role of the voivode in emergency management is very, very important, which you could see in those recent weeks. And the role of my peers from the Dolnośląskie and Opolskie voivodeships was really strong. And considering the Act on the Protection of Population and the Civil Defense, which is now in the Parliament, the role of voivodes and the local government is crucial. We're talking about the protection of the population in peacetime. We're talking about civil defense in wartime. And we also do know the deficiencies that we are faced with, and we know the challenges that we are faced with. So the role of the voivode is very important in preparing the plans of evacuation of the population, and we need to connect these plans across different units of territorial government. Why am I saying this at the inauguration of the academic year? Let me posit that in this complicated world with so many challenges, the time to decision is ever shorter, and so are the risks. There's a growing role of social media. There is a growing importance of AI and a growing importance of energy crises. We're talking about a climate crisis as well. So today we need efficient government, efficient local government, and you cannot have that, in my opinion, without well-functioning public managers. So we manage processes, projects at different levels, at multiple levels in public administration. And universities such as this one should train and educate managers, not only for private business, but also for public government units. This is a task for business universities to deliver this quality. And another important element is the element of preparation and analytical support. The more information we have, the lesser the chance for decision makers to make a false decision. I am certain that the Warsaw School of Economics is such a university. Looking back at the recent years, at the ranking positions that Mr. Rector mentioned, looking at your international collaboration and certification, and let me address the students and say that you have made the right decision when you decided to come and study here. And I wish all the best to all of the staff, all of the students, and also, apart from looking for your passions and hobbies and enjoyment, I hope that you are going to enjoy the academic life in this beautiful capital city of Warsaw. Thank you very much for your attention. And a very big thank you to the Voivod. Then let us proceed. One more thing. Let me express my thanks to President, the Vice Mayor of Renata Kaznowska, who has shared a letter for Mayor of Warsaw from Rafał Trzaskowski. She said that she would not be reading it in acknowledgement of our time constraints. So let me move on without further ado to the next part of our ceremony. It will be the award ceremony of the National Education Medals. Let me invite Professor Agnieszka Chłoń-Domińcza, the Deputy Rector for Scientific Affairs, to read the decisions of the Minister of Education. Please rise from your seats. I have the honor to inform you that by the Minister of Education's decision, the following individuals have been awarded with the National Education Medal. Dr. habilitowany Ireneusz Dąbrowski, Professor of Warsaw School of Economics, Professor Magdalena Kachniewska, Professor Arkadiusz Kowalski, Professor Monika Rauli-Najtis-Grzybek, Professor Piotr Zaborek, and Dr. Maria Ziółkowska, all of them associated with the Warsaw School of Economics. My congratulations, and the medals will be awarded to you in a moment. Let me invite Mr. Professor Dąbrowski. Professor Magdalena Kachniewska. Professor Arkadiusz Kowalski, please come and join us here. Professor Monika Rauli-Najtis-Grzybek. Professor Piotr Zaborek. Dr. Marta Ziółkowska. My congratulations, and please take your seats again. Let me extend my congratulations to professors and to Doctor. And on behalf of the authorities of our university and all of our community, we wish you further academic success. And a big thank you to Professor Agnieszka Chłondominczak for leading this part. The next part is the award ceremony. We have medals for the merits for the Warsaw School of Economics in Warsaw. Professor Danuta will moderate this part of our ceremony. Yes, a big round of applause. She's a new deputy rector for development. Professor Nidziuka is making her debut in this role. And a big thank you from me for Professor Roman Sowiecki for performing this function in the most recent term of office. Ladies and gentlemen, I am enormously pleased to tell you that the medal for the merits of the Warsaw School of Economics in Warsaw has been awarded to the following individuals: President Aleksander Kwaśniewski, Professor Danuta Hübner, and His Excellency Ambassador Jan Truszczyński. Before I invite you to stage, let me read the laudation. Ladies and gentlemen, the medal for the merits for the Warsaw School of Economics has been awarded on the 11th of July 2024. His name has been known on the pages of many youth organizations, and he also headed the Standardmłodych. It was his merits that enabled young people to read a journal about computers, and great politics claimed Aleksander Kwaśniewski. Very soon he became minister at the age of 31, and a few years later he played a historical role during the roundtable negotiations with Tadeusz Mazowiecki and Romuald Sosnowski. He co-chaired one of the most important working groups, the working groups on pluralism in trade unions. On his initiative in 1980, the elections to the Senate were completely free. Aleksander Kwaśniewski was also running as a candidate in those elections, and he lost the election as all of the party candidates, but he made the highest result. He achieved the highest result in the election. After that, he was the co-creator of social democracy of the Republic of Poland. He became a member of parliament again in 1993. In the last elections, he made the best result in the country. He headed the Constitutional Committee of the Parliament, developing the new constitution. 1995 brought the victory in the presidential election. He was re-elected for the next term 5 years later, and he was re-elected in the first round. So until today, he remains the first president who won the re-election in the first round of voting. His term of office saw some of the most important events in the Third Polish Republic. We saw the new referendum, the new constitution in 1999. Poland joined NATO, and then Poland joined the European Union. And he has always been the great proponent of Poland's reuniting with the West, an attitude which was not always shared by his political peers. But he also worked very hard to win favors for Poland among the people who could open the important doors for Poland. In 1999, he took the floor in this particular hall, and he spoke to the students. Our country needs educated people who are open to new solutions, who see new chances and new opportunities for Poland. I am enormously happy to see that ever more young people are taking up university studies as our country is getting ready for its membership in European structures. And I'm convinced that you, as graduates and students of prestigious universities, will successfully represent the interests of Poland in Europe. And today we can say that this plan has been successful. Poland is in the EU, and Warsaw School of Economic graduates are also ranking high in all kinds of contests and rankings. And President Alexander Kwaśniewski was one of the key architects of this change. Thank you very much.
I would also like to invite on stage Mr. Rector Marek Rocki, President of the chapter, and student Michał Smelciak, President of the Students' Council. The next person awarded by the chapter for merits for the Warsaw School of Economics with resolution number 16 of July 2024 is Professor Danuta Hübner. Professor Danuta Hübner surely feels at home at our main hall. No surprise, because many times as a student of the foreign trade faculty of the main School of Planning and Statistics, she listened to lectures here. In the following years, the roles turned and students listened to her lectures. It is here that she was awarded further titles of her scientific career until she was awarded the title of Professor of Economic Sciences by the President of the Polish Republic. She devoted 50 years to her scientific research work. However, this was not all. To be able to show to students the most up-to-date practical knowledge, Mrs. Danuta Hübner was active in many enterprises. There's no possibility to list all of them. It included cooperating with UN agencies, numerous international internships, many presentations. She was the deputy director of the Strategic Studies Institute in Warsaw, chairperson of the Social Planning Council at the Central Planning Unit, she was an advisor to the Deputy Minister and Minister of Finance, Grzegorz Kołotka, but at the turn of centuries she was the main negotiator for Poland's accession to OECD. Poland was forbade to enter the Marshall's Plan in 1947, after 50 years entered the club of highly developed democratic states. Next, she was the government plenipotentiary for the establishment of the Committee for European Integration, its secretary and head, finally. She served as head of the chancellery of President Alexander Kwaśniewski and was his advisor later on. Subsequently, she was the Minister for European Matters in the government of Leszek Miller. She was also the first Polish commissioner in the European Commission. After that mission ended, she was elected as a member of the European Parliament 3 times. Her activity was awarded many times. The professor is a lady of many awards in Poland and abroad. 5 universities granted her the Doctor Honoris Causa titles as the community of the Warsaw School of Economics. We are proud that our graduate and lecturer had so much contribution to the Poland's accession to European communities. Madam Professor, please come on stage. I would like to invite the Rector on stage as well. On the same day, 11th July 2024, the chapter awarded the Medal for Merits for the Warsaw School of Economics to Mr. Ambassador Jan Truszczyński, who is a graduate of our university too. For Mr. Ambassador, our main role is not new. Also, he graduated from the university as a graduate of the Foreign Trade faculty. of the main planning and statistics school. Then began his path, which led him to the most important places where the fate of the country and continent was decided. His career in diplomation brought him for many years to Brussels. Already in 1989, he was deputy head of the mission of the Polish People's Republic to the European communities. And in the years 1996 to 2001, he was a permanent representative of the Republic of Poland at the European Union. This was a key time when Polish negotiations for accession began. After this mission ended, Jan Truszczyński was the advisor to the President of the Republic of Poland, and then the government plenipotentiary for negotiations for of the Republic of Poland for the membership in the European Union. This was the time of the most difficult negotiations, which ended in a great success. In 2005, Jan Truszczyński became Deputy Foreign Minister. It was also a time when Mr. Ambassador returned to his alma mater. In the years 2002 to 2006, he was employed at the European Integration Chair, where he gave lectures on economic and social aspects of Poland's membership in the EU. After leaving the Foreign Ministry in October 2005, he became the managing director of the Polish-German Cooperation Foundation. A year later, he became the General Director of the General Directorate for Broadening the EU and Deputy Director of the General Directorate for Education and Culture. In the years 2010 to 2014, he was the General Director of the latter institution. We are happy that Mr. Ambassador likes our university and has good sentiments about it. Many times he recalled his association to the school, and we believe he will continue doing so. Mr. Ambassador, please come on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, this year is very special for us. It's a year in which we can grant the medal also to those who should have received it last year, who weren't able to be here last year. But it also proves how great traditions we have at the Warsaw School of Economics, and that we can grant numerous titles. Please allow me to mention the resumes of two great athletes and to remind you that this limitless possibility is also demonstrated in that. Last year, the chapter awarded medals, among others, to Mrs. Kłobokowska and Grażyna Rapsztyn. They are here with us today, and thus, today, we will speak of the story of their great activity for the sake of our community. Mrs. Ewa Kłobokowska is among the outstanding graduates of our school, where she studied in the years 67 to 71 at the Production Economics faculty, and she got the master's degree there. She became our student when she was already an awarded sports person, so she contributed it to the family of the Warsaw School of Economics. Her sports achievements are impressive. She sprinted in a great way in this 4x100 meters run during the Olympic Games in Tokyo in 1964. Ewa Kłobokowska, running at the last shift, had a passionate and winning duel with a representative of the United States. Never before and never later, the Polish 4x100 meters run was awarded the gold Olympic medal from Tokyo. She also brought the brown medal for the 100 meters run, and she achieved that after just 2 years of starting her trainings. Another 2 gold medals and 1 silver medal was also won by her at the European Championships in Budapest in 1966. Mrs. Ewa Kłobukowska broke the world record in the run for 100 meters 3 times, twice the record of Europe and 8 times the record of Poland. She is a master of sports and an activist of the Polish Olympic Committee. She was awarded the Order of Cavalry Officers Order and the Commander's Order of the Poland's Rebirth. Poland loved Mrs. Kłobukowska, and our school is very proud of her. Please come on stage. Please allow me to invite also Mr. President Kwaśniewski as a former sports minister and head of the Polish Olympic Committee. A second medal, as I said, was awarded to Mrs. Grażyna Rapsztyn, who is also among the graduates of the Warsaw School of Economics, which she graduated from in 1978. She also studied at the Production Economics faculty, and she was given the master's degree there. She also graduated from the Poznań Physical Academy, Education Academy. Through her sports achievements, she promoted a positive image of the Warsaw School of Economics, and she contributed to the image of the school as an open, friendly, and providing good conditions for individual interests of students, including professional sports careers. Mrs. Grażyna Rapsztyn is an exceptional athlete, one of the leading hurdle race runners in the world. In the 1970s, you could say she won the races in series in 60 meters hurdle race. From the University Olympic Games and the World Cup, she brought a total of 5 gold medals. She broke the world record in the 100 meters hurdle race 3 times. The last world record from 1980 was established by Grażyna Rapsztyn, was not broken for as many as 6 years. Until today, no Polish athlete ran faster. Grażyna Rapsztyn represented Poland in Olympic Games 3 times. She has been the European champion 3 times, 10 times the title of Master Champion of Poland. These achievements were due to hard work, hours of trainings, and a great sports style. And she was also awarded 2 times with a gold and 5 times a silver medal for outstanding sports achievements. By the decision of the President of the Republic of Poland, she was granted the Poland's Rebirth Cross for exceptional achievements in supporting the Polish Olympic movement. Our school is proud of having such a great graduate and sportswoman, and I would like to invite again the Rector and Mr. President on stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Deputy Rector, for giving this very humanistic description of the profiles, and it shows how diverse and great this group is, the group that we call the family of Warsaw University of Economics. We are really happy to have all of the awardees today. And now please rise from your seats. The moment has come to hear the lyrics of the ancient song Gaude Mater Polonia, Rejoice the mother of Poland. Take your seats. And now, traditionally, we would like to congratulate our graduates who are celebrating the 50th anniversary of their immatriculation this year. Deputy Rector for International Collaboration will lead this ceremony. Dear graduates, I feel deeply honored to be able to congratulate on this wonderful Jubilee. His Magnificence Rector will be handing in the letters of congratulations. Professor Halina Brdulak, please join us on stage. Ms. Danuta, please join us on stage. And then Professor Eva Helly. Ms. Teodora Kruszmanowska. Ms. Urszula Smolkowska. Ms. Ewa Wieteska. And Professor Maciej Cesarski. Dr. Grzegorz Myśliwiec. Professor Roman Sobiecki. And a wholehearted congratulations on these awards. And now we will move on to the most important part of the ceremony, namely the immatriculation of first-year students. Professor Krzysztof Kozłowski, Deputy Rector for Teaching and Students, will guide this part of the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, I am enormously pleased to present first-year students of Warsaw University of Economics who have achieved the highest scores in recruitments. First cycle study program had the following students with the highest scores: Maciej Żygała, Grzegorz Figiel, Katarzyna Formińska, Mateusz Waćko, and Bartosz Topa. In recruitment to second cycle study programs, we have Dominika Tymek, Marcel Joda, Kinga Kuźmińska, and Domika Odrzywowska. These are the students with the highest scores. Please rise from your seats, everyone. In a moment, I will read the text of the oath, but remembering the words of the rector of the University of Special Pedagogy, please do it with your pride. Being aware of the rights and obligations of the student of the Warsaw School of Economics of Warsaw, and taking everyone here as witnesses, I solemnly pledge to gain knowledge and use it for the benefit of the society, to pursue the truth and give testimony to it, ensure the dignity of the student, and ensure preserve the traditions and a good name of the student of the Warsaw School of Economics in Warsaw. I pledge, the students repeated it, do show that you are the students of the Warsaw School of Economics. I pledge, and there was a chorus of voices. Yes, now we heard you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Please take your seats. Letters of immatriculation will be handed over to the students by His Magnificence, and the student caps of a university will also be handed over. So, Mr. Maciej Żygała, please join us here. Yes, and the student cap goes on. Ms. Grzegorz Figiel. Ms. Katarzyna Formińska. Mr. Mateusz Waćko. And Mr. Bartosz Topa. Ladies and gentlemen, please do not laugh. Sometimes things get easier. And now, second cycle study program students, Ms. Dominika Tymek. Mr. Marcel Joda. Ms. Kinga Kuźmińska. And Ms. Dominika Oczywolska. Scientific Affairs to run the immatriculation ceremony of doctoral students. Ladies and gentlemen, it is very nice for me to welcome the doctoral students who are beginning the first year of study at our doctoral school. Mr. Bartosz Białas, Mr. Jan Helps, Ms. Justyna Ignasiak, Mr. Sebastian Muraszewski, and Ms. Alexandra Szczepara, all of them holding a master's degree and beginning their doctoral studies. Being aware of the rights and obligations of the doctoral student of the Warsaw School of Economics, taking all of these present as witnesses, I solemnly declare to gain knowledge solemnly and to use it for the benefit of the society, to pursue the truth and give testimony to it. And with my attitude, contribute to the advancement of science, take care of the dignity of the doctoral student, traditions, and the good name of the Warsaw School of Economics. I pledge. Now, please take your seats, and His Magnificence will hand over the letters of matriculation. Mr. Bartosz Białas, please join us on stage. Mr. Jan Herbst. Ms. Justyna Ignasiak. Mr. Sebastian Muraszewski. And Mr. Alexander Szczepara. Ladies and gentlemen, do rise from your seats. The academic year 2024-2025 at the Warsaw School of Economics in Warsaw is hereby announced as open.
Ladies and gentlemen, after this commemoration of youth and joy of life, all that's left is to listen to the representatives of the students. Now I'd like to ask Mrs. Małgorzata Franczuk, Chairperson of the Students' Council of SGH, to take the floor. Magnificency, Senate, professors, guests, ladies and gentlemen, and primarily students, it is a great pleasure to stand before you here today to welcome you to the new academic year on behalf of the Student Council. For many of us, studying is a time of excitement, challenges, and new perspectives that are inherent in studying at the Warsaw School of Economics, a university that has been educating leaders of the Polish economy and business for years. Our school is a unique place that, with the help of an individual study program and an excellent staff, provides you with countless opportunities for academic development. Moreover, a wide range of international programs and the opportunity to pursue many subjects in foreign languages contribute to your personal development and professional success. It is here that you have the opportunity to meet the representatives of the business world and gain expertise in your chosen field. It is, however, important to remember that the Warsaw School of Economics is not only a place of learning, but also a space for personal development and relationship building. I would like to encourage you to get involved in the life of the university, join student organizations, participate in events and projects that will allow you to get to know yourselves and others better. The Student Council is always open to your ideas and initiatives. It is thanks to you that we can build an increasingly better environment for learning and development. I can't forget the importance of cooperation between students and academic staff. Together we create a community that is based on mutual trust, support, and pursuit of excellence. That's why I'd like to sincerely thank all faculty and staff of the university for their continuous work, which allows us to gain knowledge and prepare for the challenges of the modern world. In conclusion, I would like to wish all students success in the coming academic year. May it be a time full of inspiration, development, and realization of your passions. Remember that what we bring out of these years depends on ourselves, our determination, curiosity about the world, and willingness to act. Thank you, and I wish everyone a wonderful academic year. Thank you very much for these words, and now I'd like to invite on stage the chairperson of the Doctoral Student Council, Mr. Przemysław Brzószczak. Mr. President, Magnificency, ladies and gentlemen, ministers, guests, students, doctoral students, the inaugural addresses have their rules. We expect them not to be too long and that they have to have proportions between words of encouragement and those referring to real worries of the academia. Following this course of thought, I'd like to wish the doctoral community, but also the academic community, all of you here gathered at the inauguration of the academic year, to be optimistic on an everyday basis, to be curious in your research, to be persistent in moments of doubt, knowing that crises in your creativity are inherent in studying, more care for the needs of the weakest members of the academia, doctoral students, administration workers, researchers, senior persons, especially in the context of crisis in mental health and costs of living. We also need to men in their academic career paths and in joining different roles in the society, so that the good level of the participation of women can be maintained not only in the academia but later. Good balance of private and professional life. I would have wished you good scientific activities in the previous years, but following the rules of work-life balance, I wish you sufficiently good scientific activities, good legislation, so that the academic community doesn't have to devote too much time to bureaucracy and reporting obligations, wisdom of the government, so that they understand that they shouldn't only allocate just 1% of the GDP to science, but aim at around 3% of the GDP, as is the average in the European Union, and that As results from the 2003 report by the Warsaw School of Economics, everyone's what invested in research and higher education yields 7 zlotys in return. Without getting into details of the methodology here, I would like to thank the previous leadership team of the school, Mr. Dean, Professor Wojciech Pacho, Deputy Deans, Mrs. Pakulska, Marzena Witek-Hajduk, and I would like to wish all best to the new doctoral school leadership team with the Dean. Last but not least, best wishes to Professor Agnieszka Błoń-Dominczak, Deputy Rector for Science, who is in charge of doctoral issues, and I will thank her also on behalf of my predecessors, and good luck for the next 4 years, and you can count on constructive support of the students, Doctoral Students Council. Please allow me to close with a personal comment. I am a representative of a generation that grew up already in the Third Republic of Poland. We have observed and benefited from the great transformation of Poland's accession to the EU, this great development and ambition. However, it would be better to say that we returned to Europe rather than integrated with European structures, as Milan Kundera wrote in his essay. It is thanks to those awarded today, Mr. President, Madam Commissioner, Mr. Ambassador, that this process of Poland's return to Europe was possible. As a representative of the generation benefiting from Poland's membership in the EU, I would like to say to you here in this oldest and school of economics with the greatest tradition in this part of Europe, I'd like to thank you for this work and the time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairperson. During this ceremony, the word cooperation was mentioned many times. It's also a pleasure for me to ask on stage a representative of companies cooperating with the school, Ms. Agnieszka Świątek, who will speak on behalf of partnership companies. Please come on stage. Magnificency, ladies and gentlemen, dear students, for some of us, this is yet another inauguration of the academic year, but for some, it is the first such event in their lives. And let me address a few words to this group, to each young student. You are starting an incredible journey, even though right now you might be thinking that this is merely another school, another stage, another building, another classes. You might spend here perhaps 1/4 of your life so far. But I can promise to you that this will be a very quick and short ride. So before you get into the whirlwind of classes, exams, projects, and hopefully parties as well, please take a moment to stop, look around, see who's sitting next to you, smile to them, take a mental photo. No smartphone, no filters, no corrections. It is just perfect. Feed your hippocampus where your long-term memory is stored with the memories of today, of the coming years, of the coming days. These memories will come back to you because you will come back to these walls, probably in a completely different role, perhaps as a lecturer, perhaps as a conference guest, or as an employee of a company which cooperates with the Warsaw School of Economics, such as my company. You will come back to these walls, and it will turn out that it's like a photo album, like a snapshot. You're standing in the corridor waiting for the results in an exam, of an exam in the subject, which will become part of your career, even though you think you would never work in sales, marketing, logistics, diplomacy, startup. One day you will just select the right answer. A snapshot. You're standing in the corridor agreeing on a first date, which will lead you to more dates, and then to a great relationship, or a failed one, but one you need know. A snapshot. Jajko, you're standing next to the window and you get a phone call that, yes, you did get this job you dreamed of. In 2 years, you will perhaps change it again. And that's good. In 15, 20 years, you won't remember what the Słutsky equation was. And in your work, probably no one will also ask you about it. But in a minute, in microeconomics, it will be very important. And open your mind to that, because it's also part of your experience. But it's not just about science and research and studies here in the inauguration of the academic year. During the many sleepless nights, those in the library and outside the library, you will build friendships. 4 years in students' scientific clubs, or students' organizations, you will get a passion, your work, or merely a wonderfully wasted time during which you gain experience and learn from your mistakes. But why should we continue studying? And this is a reasonable question, because you are starting the academic year knowing that neither in 3, 4, 500 years you will know more than ChatGPT 4.0 knows today. So why? What's the point? If you want to study, and I encourage you to do so, study not to gain knowledge, but to develop your brain. And your brain develops best through asking questions at lectures, at classes, but also in a park, at a party, at work, at any possible place. Do practice asking good questions. Your brain loves it. It creates serotonin, creates new neuron connections, and thus people and only people can solve problems. This is our skill. It's very complementary with other skills of generating problems, and problems to be resolved will never be short for humanity. Picasso said that computers are useless because they only give answers. He died before Google was born. I think artificial intelligence is very useful, but still it only gives answers. So let's learn to ask phenomenal questions. This is very humane and very needed. It's priceless. Good luck. Thank you very much for these warm, inspiring words addressed at our community, at the whole Warsaw School of Economics family. I think Agnieszka, who represents MasterCard Advisory, is a person to be met many times in the walls of this school. This room is also not foreign to her, because she's also a member of our graduate community. Again, thank you. And now let's move on to the next part of this celebration. One more word. I think that this invitation for artificial intelligence shouldn't hamper the mission for the most important thing at the heart of the university: lecture, conversations, meetings of students, of disciples with their masters. 118 years ago, when the university was founded, during the occupation years in the 1940s, when it was underground, in 1944, when in Częstochowa it inaugurated, because it couldn't start in Warsaw, which was damaged, 20 years ago, when Poland entered the European Union. On this first day, an inaugural lecture was addressed, the heart of every inauguration. It is a great pleasure for us and a great honor for us that 20 years after Poland accessed the European Union, the inauguration lecture will be delivered by the first Polish commissioner of the European Commission, a lecture, World, Europe, Poland. The stage is yours.
Dear friends of the Warsaw School of Economics, Your Magnificence Rector, a big thank you to you for those moving moments. My heart beats faster because of the good and pleasant experiences, and it makes me feel better. Let me share a memory. I also was a member of the choir. I was a second alto. I don't know if you have second altos today in your choir, but this was a very important part of our socializing for building unity. These are important moments. Rector, the speeches that we have had today, and I am sure you have had many inauguration lectures over the years, but let me make use of the last minutes of the ceremony and say something that would be a personal note. Our university is a great place to discuss today's challenges, unpredictability and uncertainties, and also rethinking of our thinking about democratic institutions, about our political commitments, and also the war that, as it turns out, is always close by. And our university is also a good place to say that the European community is not only the fruit of history and a fruit of necessity, but also a fruit of political will and civic will. Because also today, Europe's strength comes from its people. This is a political construct that was built by men and women for decades on the ashes of the Second World War and the memory of the atrocities of the First World War. Mr. President mentioned that. It is also a project that is rooted very deeply in the shared values of freedom, human dignity, equality, the rule of law. And this list gets longer and longer, the list of values that become ever more important for us. And those who say, often with disdain, that the European Union today is different from the one that we entered, those people are right, and this is true. The history of the European Union is a history of change. These might be some small everyday steps, but also very important decisions, and I'm thinking here of Schengen, the common currency, the internal single market, and the 7 enlargements and the 7 treaties, if I'm not mistaken, the treaties which are the foundation of this community of law, and we need to remember that. It is also important to bear in mind that the European Union remains an open project. It has never defined its finalité politique over the years. It changes in response to the changing world and in response to the expectations of its citizens. And recent years have also proven that history will continue to knock on the EU's door, just as it knocked in 2004. Today, we have 9 candidate states on the waiting list. The world seems to have accelerated. Mr. President mentioned the accelerated decision-making, but it seems that the world has been accelerating, and the challenges it faces could span several decades, and it would not be boring. We are living at the crossroads of many challenges, the old challenges and new threats, in a world from which those traditional geopolitical challenges have not gone away, and they have reinforced. And the new challenges have been added in recent years, and we know them all too well. But what is very important is that a criminal war, in fact, is being fought on the EU's doorstep. A vicious aggression by a member of the UN Security Council that challenges the sovereignty of the nation of 40 million people and its state. And all of the political forces that are destructive are working at various levels, and they're polarizing not only countries but also societies. This network of autocrats who want to undermine the international order is doing quite well, and the Chinese leader, on behalf of this network, has been announcing for some time that the change is coming. It is indeed true that Putin's allies do not agree on everything, and they have common interests and a common enemy, that is the democratic world. In this context, like in Hanna Malewska's writings, the order of the world passes away, making room for a new order. And in this new order, which is based on instability and uncertainty, we see the third global actor, Europe, alongside the United States and China. And Europe can bring the much-needed stability because only Europe has in its DNA a concern for the global institutional order without allowing it to be based on the logic of political power instead of norms and institutions. And therefore, I would like to say from the outset that the security of Europe and Poland will be decided on the Ukrainian front. A victory of Ukraine is our European raison d'etat and Polish raison d'etat. If Ukraine does not win against Russia, and this depends on the support it receives from the democratic world, then Putin and his henchmen will remake the global system of rules and institutions, adapting it to their liking and aiming to annihilate democracy. The eroding global confidence in the West and the fact that we have failed to isolate Putin from his potential supporters is living proof of their political prowess. And the war in Ukraine continues, and its potential end is unpredictable. The Russian unlawful invasion on Ukraine is in fact-faced battleground in a long struggle between the dramatically opposing values on which modern political systems are built, so authoritarian and democratic. Reflecting on the world, we are seeing the weaknesses of the global alliance of democracies being announced. Less than 20% of the world's population lives in democratic systems. The pending elections in the United States may weaken the unity of the democratic world. We need the transatlantic unity based on shared values. We need assertiveness in transatlantic unity and also strategic action. It is indeed true that if we want to look forward, the strong element of uncertainty in the world prompts us to seek firm ground on this shifting sand. For Poland, there is no doubt that membership of the European Union is such terrain, active membership. And in the background of the United States elections, the interest lies in nurturing mutually beneficial bilateral relations, and world responsibility is a must. Everywhere in the world, countries and businesses are taking a fresh look at the interdependencies in the areas of production, trade, investment, disrupted supply chains. The costs and efficiencies which have guided investment decisions for decades have given way to recent years of a logic of security, resilience, and independence. Manufacturing is returning to highly developed economies. The idea to locate parts of productions in countries with low labor costs is no longer an obvious part of the operating strategy and plays a weaker role in globalization. The technology supports this trend. We also are seeing a new wave of public subsidies and protectionism in many countries. The European Union has found its path in dealing with the numerous crises in recent years, but we have also introduced, alongside crisis management, we have introduced a strategic and global perspective in our policy. This has never been our greatest strength. However, there is still a great deal of crisis narrative around us. And in this narrative claims that Europe can be an effective global player with 27 member states focused on defending their own national interests. So we have a very strategic choice to make. The good news in recent years is that Europe has become more visible to its citizens. Its role in our lives has increased. First the pandemic and then the war change what Europeans think about Europe and what they expect from it. At the recent conference on the future of Europe, political leaders had, for the first time perhaps, from their citizens, we want more Europe and we're not afraid to change the treaties. It is obvious that only strong partners can create strong alliances. Our partners need to be strong. And it is true that Europe is chronically underinvested, and it needs massive investment, private and public, to generate growth, generate productivity, and international competitiveness. In an environment where more and more challenges do not respect borders, we need common European projects based on joint financing, supported by strategically targeted regulation, with well-balanced benefits for all members of European integration. Europe needs a change in the rules of state aid, so to make sure that its use does not exacerbate the fragmentation of the internal market and be the jewel in the crown of European integration. Europe needs a regulatory environment conducive to the expansion of private investment. The difficult challenge that we face is to find the political will for sufficiently ambitious climate targets, accelerated decarbonization, supporting innovation, getting out of the medium tech trap, which I think is a Polish sin, a Polish characteristic, or a disease, whatever we name it. And we also need building the Union's defense capabilities. Bringing about a new enlargement also calls for reforms that have long seemed necessary but are absolutely essential today. We face the need to develop safe European assets, and financial specialists know what I'm talking about. We need to accelerate the expansion of the European capital market, ensuring that Europe's huge savings, because Europe is the leader in the rate of savings, we need to make sure that savings go where investment capital is needed. We're also faced with the task of finding, after many years of discussion, an agreement on new resources of our own, and the condition for the reform of the European budget. Important EU decisions still require unanimity, which, in the context of the great increase in diversity after the next enlargement, would call for institutional change. This multiplicity of tasks raises questions. Can we simultaneously ensure citizens' prosperity and economic security? Can we avoid protectionism and be in the vanguard of green transition, Green Deal? How to bring about political consensus on common European projects and new forms of financing? The new European defense strategy is not just about meeting Ukraine's defense needs. It's also a long-term collective security project for Europe. It can be a success if, again, it is adequately funded and avoids 27 separate national strategies. Treaties might need to be changed. Let's not reject them a priori. In Poland, let us talk more often about the future of Europe, about the world that surrounds us. And, Mr. Rector, this is also a claim for your university. We need a business community in such a debate. We need a civil society and also coherence between our Polish strategic priorities and our place in the Union. Let us include a discussion about our adoption of a common currency in this debate about Poland's European future. Without this currency, our membership in the EU is politically, institutionally, and economically incomplete. Let us link this debate to a vision of our development, our demographic challenge, the labor market, the role of technology, the energy transition, investment policy, or, more generally, the role of economic policy in Poland. Young people, as well as investors, want to talk about what will be the flywheel of our development in the next decades. Maybe for many decades we will have to live on the quicksand. For us Poles, there is no place on earth other than the EU where we can strengthen our security in the broadest sense. Civil democracy gave us the chance in October to return to Europe, to rebuild our place in the EU, to restore confidence in Poland, and to take active part in shaping the future of the EU and its role in the world. This is our raison d'être and also part of our political responsibility, as is maintaining the strength of the geostrategic momentum in our support for Ukraine and its entry into the EU and NATO.
In the global context, we are a small country that has often been exposed to the drafts of history. Mr. President spoke about sovereignty. I think it's worth emphasizing that secure sovereignty of Poland is sovereignty within an ecosystem. The United States perceive Poland through our strong position in the EU. Olga Tokarczuk said that the world is indeed a wobbling creation in which identity is changing. EU membership is something of a support group. NATO is a breakwater, as well as our ability to build democratic alliances. Civil society is also a support group for that. The elections have shown that it is a great force against nationalism, populism, and in Poland we need to add as well against misogyny. Poland was entering the Union at a time when Fukuyama was proclaiming the end of history and the eternity of democracy. We believed that a certain stage of our history was behind us: wars, destruction, disrespect for human beings. Unfortunately, something happened that had no right to happen. This end did not happen. We underestimated the power of mentalities and cultural codes that reject democracy. And what worries most, as a world full of threats and uncertainty moves towards disorder and instability, is the growing threat to the foundations of an open and pluralistic society. And throwing this threat overboard is the task for your generation. I'm looking at this small group of students who are still upstairs. And that's why I'm glad about what the rector said and what was reiterated throughout the representatives of the school presentations, that the school not only educates but shapes the next generation for the future as well. And that's why I leave Poland, the world, and Europe in your hands. And Mr. Rector, I wish you a lot of strength, because you'll have a lot of work to do ahead of you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Professor, for the first lecture in this academic year, which forces us to reflect. But being a part of the European Union is our fundamental value, and this is something that we have to reiterate all the time. We're coming to close to the end of our ceremony today, but at the end, one more song by our choir. I asked the choir to sing a song in Polish. Look what they've done. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the magnificent, wonderful school choir directed by Dr. Tomasz Tymek. Applause. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the choir of the Warsaw School of Economics, which has started the 20th year of its tenure, thanks to Rector Budnikowski. Now they have to deal with us for the next 4 years. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, all of you, for being here at this ceremony. Particularly, I want to thank Mr. President, who stayed with us to the end, Madam Professor, Madam Minister, Mr. Voivod, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Professor, Mrs. Madam Teresa, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you very much for your persistence. I'm looking at my friends here. Thank you. I promised you to make it in 2.5 hours. It was 6 minutes more. Please excuse me. Please do come here next year. I promise to amend this and to make it shorter, not longer. I also thank all the team that prepared this celebration, headed by Mrs. Patrycja Żylic. Thank you very much. And I forgot to thank the director, Damian, for being with us. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank our hosts. It was their debut, but I believe it was very successful. Thank you, Director Patrycja Dudkiewicz and Director Mariusz Sielski. Thank you very much. Thanks to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. After the celebration, let's have a meal together and a surprise concert. Even I don't know what to expect. Only the director, Patrycja, knows it, and she refused to tell me, so I'm also curious. So now, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, and I close the sitting of the Senate of the Warsaw School of Economics for the opening of the academic year 2024-2025. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.